Hello everybody. Today I'd like to look through this magazine with you all. I don't know when we started getting W magazine. Nobody in the house subscribed to it, but it started arriving, and being that I'm interested in editorial and commercial advertising photography, I love to look through magazines like this and analyze the photography. So I figured I'd let you guys join along. It's got a great sound to the pages as we flip through, and we'll just go through and look at some of these photos and talk about them and see what we can see here. So here on the cover, obviously, we have Kate Blanchett, and one of the tricks to analyzing the lighting of a photograph is to look at the catch light in the eyes right here. And what you can do is look to see the size of the catch light. You can look to see where the location of the catch light is, or if there's no catch light at all. Those are all clues as to where the light might be positioned in the photograph, especially the main light and any possible fill lights. So, in this image, it's a little bit hard to tell exactly what type of modifier is being used here, but it is definitely something that is very near the axis of the camera itself, near the axis of the lens. And you can tell because the catch light's right in the middle of her eye, and there are no major shadows anywhere on her face. You do get a couple soft shadows, and like here in the crook of her arm, you see a couple, but almost everything facing the camera is lit, which is a clear indicator that the light is positioned somewhere near the axis of the camera itself. We are seeing a little bit of highlight on on her cheekbones, which could be coming from whatever's lighting the background, or it could actually be just some light coming off the background itself and wrapping around her face. Let's go ahead and take a look in here. So we have all sorts of photographs in here. We have photographs like the cover, which is more of an editorial shot for the story. We have photographs like this one, which are obviously for an advertisement. But a lot of the same techniques apply from photo to photo. So, to me, this looks like something that could have been shot in natural light. But I suspect that there's probably some artificial source playing a role here. Just looking at the way the background is, that it's brighter over on this edge of the frame in the background, my thought is that the natural light's coming from this way, and you can see this highlight on her shoulders. But because of this highlight back here, there's no way that same light source would also be lighting her face like this. And I can see a small catch light there. There's probably some sort of soft source, maybe medium soft source, pushing in from over here, off to her left. And you can see a couple shadows here. They're not super hard shadows, so it's a fairly soft light source. And when we talk about light being soft versus hard, what we're talking about is that transition between the highlight areas, the bright areas, and the shadow areas, the darker areas. And if that transition is very smooth and gradual, it's a soft light. If it's very abrupt and harsh, it's a hard light. Let's move on. By the way, there's also a lot of fill light coming in here, so there's either some sort of building or wall bouncing a lot of light back into her, or they had a reflector over there. Another Dior ad. Yeah, so for this railing. I wonder if this is the same railing. And if so, there's a building right here I bet a lot of light is getting bounced back into her face in the shot from the building itself. I love the sound of these pages. Here's a Prada ad. This has such a great evocative use of color and light. I'd imagine this is probably a set. It looks like a set they built. So they're exposing for all these lights with their shutter speed, and then using their flash to carve her out. So, you know, whether this reddish light is coming from over here, from these, or if it's a strobe bouncing that light into her, hard to tell, but there's definitely a main light coming from camera right, coming down. It's fairly soft, and it's fairly low, because the shadow of her nose goes straight across. So it's probably even with her face. You can really learn a lot from studying these. This one's interesting. It might be hard to tell in the video, but the catch light is a very narrow, skinny, vertical light. So probably some sort of a strip box, or they make these vertical lights that are sort of LED. Could be something like that. Again, this bluish purplish color coming in, I'm not sure if that's from some of these light sources in the background, or if those are strobes. You know, it's amazing how many things look like natural light, look naturally lit, but actually have the use of some sort of a strobe or flash. And, you know, there's some natural looking catch lights in her eyes that could be from windows, or they could be from flash. It's hard to tell sometimes. But when you use flash, you have 100% control over the scene, regardless of the weather. You can make the light do what you want it to do. Some of these. If I see some that are particularly interesting, I'll make a comment. Okay. This is a classic beauty dish right here. I've talked about the beauty dish before. The beauty dish carves out the cheekbones. And in this position, it's directly over the model's head. Not directly over her head, but above, centered. You can see that because the catch light's in the eyes and the nose shadow. It makes a butterfly shape beneath her nose, and that's called butterfly lighting. Also called paramount lighting. Beauty lighting, some people call it. Although that's a bit of a generic term. But you see the shadow in the nose. It's a little bit soft, but it's also a little bit hard. That's how you can tell it's a beauty dish. Also, the catch light in the eye is pretty circular, and that beauty dish is a circle, so it's coming straight down, and it's pretty contrasty here. Could have been a silver dish. See the specular highlights on her skin. You get this little bit of shadow beneath the lower lip too. And there's not a whole lot of fill light being bounced up into her, so you're getting fairly dark shadows. You can also tell there's a hair light up here somewhere. There's a little bit of a light on the top of her head. That's not from that beauty dish. You can tell because it's back farther, so there's probably a strip box above her head, or even just a bare reflector somewhere back there. This looks like natural light to me, with maybe a reflector for fill. You're not really seeing any catch light in the eyes, so probably getting some fill up off the water there. But there's probably a giant fill card somewhere. Not necessarily, but that's my suspicion. Don't even get me started on photographing products and jewelry. This is a very unique skill. And all of these bright parts here on metal are the actual light source itself being reflected in the metal. That's why it's so hard to shoot metal. All the dark areas are where that light source is not being reflected. Metal will just reflect right back to you the shape of the light source. It's really interesting. So, this is a perfect example of hard light. You see crisp, defined edges between shadow and highlight. Look at her chin shadow too. Very crisp and defined. This particular light is very difficult to work with on people whose skin is not close to flawless, because it carves out every single little blemish. Now obviously if you have a makeup person and you have great skin to begin with and a quality retoucher, you can shoot hard light and make it look really good. It's really snappy, it's very popular in a lot of fashion. And like I said, it kind of makes you think of sunlight. But I can almost guarantee you this is not actual sunlight. I bet this is a strobe. Especially looking at the way it falls off. It falls off far too fast for it to be sunlight, which means that it's closer than the sun. More hard light. This one's practically right on camera almost. Just a little off to camera right because of her shadow going to the left there. Almost looks like a paparazzi style. Okay, this is a really good example of a catch light here. You can even see the modifier there. Some kind of octa box. Up here maybe a beauty dish, maybe another octa. Maybe an octa. And the key light is up here, the brighter one. And this one down here is the fill light. Now in this shot, same kind of deal. Get that key light in that beauty or paramount position, that butterfly position right above her, 45 away, and then the fill light coming from below to lift those shadows. Unlike the other shot that we looked at with the butterfly lighting, you see that this one the shadows are much less severe, and that's because of that fill light getting a little bit more light up underneath. The fill light is not overpowering the key light because there are still shadows down there, and the shadows don't go up. They still fall down. If your fill light was more powerful, you'd start to see shadows coming up from her nose, and it would start to look a little bit more ghoulish. And you can see that lighting sometimes. People will do that. But this is pretty classic beauty lighting right there. Also called clamshell because the two lights, your fills here and your keys here, it's like a clamshell around your subject. Let's move along a little bit. It looks like a parabolic umbrella. You can see the strobe up in the middle of it. You see the ribs of the umbrella. This is a nice interior shot. Got some sunlight streaming through the windows. Could also be strobe. Let's look at the parallel nature of these lines. Yeah. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. When you see the lines coming like this, and they're parallel, that is sunlight. But these start to fan out just a little bit, which makes me think that there's actually a strobe out there, and then they cloned it out in post. Because the closer you are, the more your vertical lines will tend to fan out in the shadows. Perfectly vertical lines are almost always sunlight. And then there's probably quite a lot of fill light being bounced around this room, probably with a strobe. A nice soft illumination, but it's nice because all the main light is coming from the back, which carves out texture and detail. Makes it very interesting. Very often, if your light is boring, it's because it's coming from the same direction as the camera. Not always, but very often. The only thing I don't like about these magazines is they stink. All that perfume. I don't really love all that. That smell bothers my nose. I'm sure people like it, otherwise they wouldn't do it. This looks a lot like sunlight coming down in this direction, and then they're using a big fill card to bounce light up into her. Oh, Gucci. This is interesting. This is a slow shutter speed combined with flash. You can see this outline here. That's actually the outline of her body before it started moving when the flash caught it. Or actually, just when the shutter caught it, and then the flash froze this part. But there's still a lot of blur in here because they probably had a lot of ambient light coming in too to get this effect. It's pretty interesting. Oh, here's some more. Yeah. Nice. Interesting. Makes it feel a little bit impressionistic. I wonder if these were shot with film. The grain looks like film. Wow. Huge spread by Giorgio Armani. My wife wants a Chloe bag very dearly. It's not going to happen for a long time. A lot more photo shoots are required to make that money. I love the use of color in here. Look at this color. This is beautiful. There's a lot of cyan and orange mixing together. I do wonder about this. Looks like the cyan is coming from the right and up. In the orange phone booth. Plus there's some more on her too. Almost like a grid or something. Wow. That's pretty cool. Here's where the perfume smell is coming from. She's up against this wall here, this red wall. And they've got a pretty soft, probably an umbrella, parabolic, back kind of far, just blasting the whole thing with light. And you can see that soft shadow. That's how you know it's a fairly large source, fairly soft light source. Chin shadow soft. Yep, it's simple and clean light. It works great. There's some nice specularity in the skin. Maybe some sort of a silver lined parabolic. And the light is very even, top to bottom, side to side, which is how you know that the light is fairly far away. The closer the light gets, the faster it falls off. This is simple and beautiful light, probably just a soft source coming in. Maybe even a window. I like that. This is interesting. I like this. So, we've got some soft light coming in. Maybe not soft. It's kind of a medium source. It's coming in. These two women are obviously in plain view of it. But the older lady is standing here behind this door a little bit, and the shadow of the door is kind of blocking some of the light, and you see her half in shadow. It's really interesting. This line over here. It's really interesting. You can do that when you're shooting portraits. You can put something between your light source and the subject and get to look like they're almost standing in a doorway. Same lighting setup as the front, no? Yep. Yep, on axis, soft light. Let me get some interesting things going on here. Sort of film noir look, modernized a little bit. All sorts of stuff going on here. Got a soft source coming in through this window, a hard source coming from this side, maybe sunlight. If you want to make smoke stand out in your photographs, don't have the light coming from the camera, have it coming from the side or behind. This is nice. I suspect it's a composite because of the size of the moon and the size of the stars. But I love this light coming down from above her. A medium soft source. Maybe a strip box. Probably you can see it a little bit there. Reflection. Gridded. You see how that beam of light kind of stays in this area? It doesn't fall, doesn't spread a lot. It's brightest on her. Also probably pretty close to her because of how much brighter it is up here than it is down here. It's coming in like that. It doesn't quite evoke moonlight because it's pretty white light, not bluish. But maybe they were Going for sort of a street lamp kind of look. We got a different photographer to shoot each one of these kind of looks here. I think we'll call it a day here. Did a number of different things. We've crinkled a lot of pages. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you learned something.